Hi boys and girls, we're back to our video and we have something very important to learn about. Some of you may have heard of it, and if you have, that's okay, that's great. But if not, that's okay too, because we're going to learn about it here together. This word behind me is Bossy E, and it's in big bold letters because it's very important. The Bossy E is one of the most important letters that we can learn about when we're reading. And underneath, right here, it says Magic E. And some of you may know as the Bossy E, as Magic E. They're both names for this letter. Now, before we get to that, let's go ahead and read the next 3 words on our whiteboard, okay? We can read all these words because we know all of our letter sounds. So let's do it together. Read along with me. K, it, kit, tap, tap, not. Very good. So we have kit, tap, not. We know how to read those words because we know all of our letter sounds. But I have a question. What happens if I add the Bossy E to the end of these words? Okay, let's read now. Does it go k, it, e, kitty? No. Does it go k, it, eh? Nope. This letter right here at the very end of the word serves a very important purpose. This E is called the Bossy E because this E tells the other letters what to do. And sometimes we don't like that, but when it comes to reading, it is very important. So this E skips a letter and goes over to the vowel. Now we remember our vowels, A, E, I, O, U. Very good. This E, so it skips over here to the I and it tells the I to say its name. And that is why it's called the Bossy E. So when we read this word, we don't read it k, it, eh. That's not right. We read it k, I, t. And then once we get over the E is silent. He's tired. He's worn out, so he doesn't talk anymore. So it's k, I, t. That makes sense. The new word is kite. Very good. Let's go to the next one. Again, we have that Bossy E that comes in there, and it's telling the vowel what to do. So we have t, app. That was our first word. So now we're adding this E. He goes over to the vowel, and he tells that vowel to say his name. So now we have t, a, p, tape. Because remember, that E is silent. So our new word is tape. Let's try one more. Remember, this word was not. And now we have that Bossy E in there that goes over to our vowel and tells the vowel to say its name. What do you think? Before I tell you, what do you think that this one's going to be? Think to yourself and say it aloud. Ready? Go. Good. If you said note, you're right. Oat. We know it's oat because that Bossy E tells the O to say his name. Now, when we're reading, we've got to make sure that we use our detective skills and our reading eyes and our reading fingers to follow along and look for these special words that have that tricky letter at the end. It's very important because it can change the whole meaning of the sentence. If I was reading a thing and it says, I want to go fly a kite, but I didn't know that rule and I thought it said kid, that could be very different. You wouldn't really understand. So, when we're reading, make sure you use those reading detective skills to look for that Bossy E. Okay? Now, boys and girls, what we're going to do is we're going to read these two sentences and figure out which word is cut and which word is cute. All the other words in the sentences you know because you are great readers. So let's read the first sentence together. And when we get to the underlined word, we're going to say blank. Okay? I will blank the pie. Now, let's go read the second one before we figure out the underlined word. The dog is blank. Very good. Now, when we're reading this first sentence, there's an underlined word. They're both very similar, but one of the words has a bossy E. So, let's go back to that first sentence and sound out that underlined word. Ready? Cut. I will cut the pie. Does that make sense? It sure does. Okay, let's read the next sentence. The dog is Is that right? No. What is special about that bottom word that makes us have to reread it? Anyone? Good, that's right. It has the bossy E. So what we know to do is we underline that E and we skip over to the next vowel. So let's try this bottom sentence again. The dog is cute. And that E is tired, so we know the dog is cute. I will cut the pie. So our two special words are cut and cute. Why does this one say you and this one say That's right, because the bossy E tells that you to say its name. Let's try another one. All right, this time what we're going to do is we are going to read the underlined words first. We're going to read them and look for anything that's special about the words before we sound them out, and then we'll put them in our sentence. So let's look at this first underlined word. Oh, right away, we know that there's a bossy E because there's an E at the end. So let's circle it. What does that E tell us we're going to need to do? Anyone? That's right. We need to skip to the next vowel. So you can go along, draw your arrow to the next vowel. Our inside vowel is the letter O. So we know that it's going to make the O sound instead of the ah sound. So let's try to read this word together. O. Do we say the E? No, because the E is now silent. So let's try again. Oh, hope. Now let's read the sentence. I hope we win. Does that make sense? It sure does. Give a little check. Now let's go down to the bottom word. Do we have anything special about this word? There's no bossy E, so right away we know that we can read the sounds just like we hear them. So, op, hop. The bunny can hop. Does that make sense? It sure does. So our two special words this time are hope and hop. And the word hope is special because it has a bossy E that tells the O to say its name. Hop does not have anything, so that letter says ah for hop. Okay? Very good. Now what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to read these words that I'm going to write, and we're going to figure out which one has a bossy E and which one doesn't. And then secondly, we're going to sound out all of these words and see what happens if we add a bossy E to the words that don't have one already. Okay, so let's start over here with this very first word. What's the first thing you see about this word that's really important? That's right, it's got a bossy E. So the first thing we're going to do is underline that E. And we know that that E draws an arrow over here to that A and tells this A to say its name. So now we know that the word is cake. Very good. Now let's go to the next one. Do we see anything at the end of this word? Do we see a bossy E? No. So right away, we know that we're going to be saying the sound of the letter. Let's try it. Ugh. Hug. What would happen if I added an E to the end of this word? What if I made this end in a bossy E? Now let's try. We know to look at the E and skip over to our vowel, and now the vowel is going to say his name. So let's try. Huge. Huge. Does that change the meaning? Yeah, because before the word was hug, and now it's huge. Let's read this last one on this side. We see the very first thing at the end is a bossy E. So we're going to underline and skip to our vowel. So now we know that that vowel says its name. I'm. Time. Very good. Now, what I want you to do is take some time to write down these 3 words. And then tomorrow, when you come in, we're going to practice this same activity. We're going to first look for the bossy E, and then if there's not a bossy E, then we're going to figure out what the vowel sound is going to say. So take a minute and write down these words and bring them in tomorrow so that we have time to talk about them together. Okay? All right, boys and girls, once again, you have been a great audience and you've worked really hard today, and we've learned lots about that bossy E changing our vowel sounds in our words. So if you do any reading tonight, make sure you use those bossy E eye detective skills. And if you find a bossy E laying around your house, maybe on a cereal box or on the newspaper, bring it in and share it with our friends tomorrow. Look forward to seeing you, and remember, we're going to practice some more tomorrow when we're all together. So write these words down and see if you can figure out what each word is. See you tomorrow.